Now, the thing is the ajna center can never be the inner authority. This is a fundamental mechanic for us as nine-centered human beings. Is that at this point in time, the solar plexus here has actually begun the evolutionary process of developing awareness. And so the proto-awareness within this solar plexus has become the dominant authority upon the planet. And the nature of this ajna is that it belongs to the span of all time itself. Not any individual's perspective, not your thoughts and feelings that are personal to you, because they're not. They're simply a perspective that the totality is engaging through you. It doesn't belong to you. It belongs to all time. Hello there, and welcome to Third Lining It, where I'm here to talk about the human design system with the focus on what's called the not self. The focus is essentially on what not to do and why not to do it. And so today we've got a special request. So I'm going to first look into the profile, because within this request there were two of them that I'm putting together, and I'm going to attempt and answer both to some degree, basically coming from this chart. So we have a 4-6 environmental authority projector. This is very similar to a 6-2 projector, because it's still a projector, and it shares the 6th line. Now this 6th line is the line of the role model. This is a new evolutionary stage, essentially, that we have the opportunity to partake in and to participate with in the human program. And this is a true role model. You might have heard in the past this phrase of do as I say and not as I do. And this is essentially the fundamental tenet of the hypocrite, which is the shadow self of the role model. For you see, this role model has a bird's eye view on the land, on people, on life, on how things work. It's as if you're driving down the highway and imagine that instead of being situated right here in your car with the roof above you and the ground right below you, your chair is actually about a half mile in the sky. So you have this huge perspective that you're looking out from. And at the same time, it can be challenging to see one's place within that huge perspective. And this is why the 6th line goes through what's called a tripartite process. It goes through a 3-stage process in life. The first 30 years of life or so are considered a 3rd line process of deep trial and error, and attuning to this world that is around them in this lifetime, becoming aware of the way things do and don't work. And then after those first 30 years, there's a 20-year phase of what's called being aloof on the roof. This is where the 6th line has their chance to develop their own internal truth, their own internal perspective on that big picture they've been attuning to for 30 years. This is where the 6th line might become very distant. They might become very detached from the world or from people around them. And if you're going through this, please know that it's perfectly natural, and it's part of developing your truth, that then once you achieve the year of 50 or 51 years old or so, you have this experience of stepping down off the roof back onto the ground where everyone else is, as a genuine human role model. At least that's within the true self. Within the not self, the individual truth that has been discovered, instead of being demonstrated as an embodied truth, it becomes do as I say and not as I do. And the thing is, the program is no longer interested in hypocrites. The program for humanity is shifting into genuine role models of unique, differentiating human behavior. And so yes, there is a grand pressure on every 6-line being. And it is the pressure to truly integrate what it means to be alive, to be a human, to be able to reflect consciousness from your own unique perspective, to be able to see from your eyes, and to speak from your mouth what you see with others, to allow your body to live its life as you are watching, and able to share clearly without entanglements. However, this is third lining it, where we're talking about the entanglements. And there are plenty here that we can dive into. However, first, I'd like to speak about the 6th line within the unconscious or within the conscious. So over here on the right-hand side, you'll see black text, and you'll see these different black lines here. This is the personality, the conscious personality. This is what we have access to from our birth imprint, consciously. And over here on the left side, you'll see the red text and the red symbols and the red lines. This is the unconscious design. This is the physical body itself, what's happening in your unconscious, that you can become aware of. And this is some of the quickest ways. Simply by learning these mechanics and seeing how they play out. And so this 6th line within the unconscious, for this character here, this brings this immense pressure from underground, this immense resilience, this immense power and pressure to survive. Whereas if this pressure was in the conscious, it would be in the personality and the pressure to think about things and to see things in this big perspective. Whereas here in this chart, it's in the unconscious. It's in the body itself. And since it's the 4323 right here with double definition, it means there is a structural voice within this person that they're not aware of. That all of a sudden they're hearing themselves speak something that's like, whoa, I don't know where that came from. And if they were to meditate upon it, they might see how it fits into a bigger picture. And if that 6th line was in the conscious personality, it would be one's awareness of their own structuring of things in the way they speak and see. Whereas in this chart, it's coming from the unconscious, it's coming from the unknown, it's coming from the body, from what other people can easily see. And they generally tell you about it and you go, what? No way. Oh, maybe. Yeah, I guess that does make sense. Eventually. And so this 4th line here is what's called the opportunist. The 4th line is the first in the upper trigram of the hexagram lines, and that means that this is part of what's called transpersonal karma. It is a geometric movement that is connected with other people and the relationship with others that one can have. In this case specifically, it's mostly about the ability to opportunistically externalize one's influence throughout their network. So, on the light side of things, this is the ability to be a good role model for your friends and family that they can look up to and follow in the footsteps of. However, in the shadow self, this opportunist is opportunistically hypocritical. And something I've noticed in my own life with the 6th line being coming from a 1st line, you see I'm a 1-3. And so the 6th line to me is something that is incredible, and I have a deep respect for the process. Because the immense power that is simply coursing through that geometry, that 6th line, is profound. And they can exist in behavioral states that wouldn't be stable or reliable for someone like me as a 1-3. It's something that I've noticed. That this 6th line can say, get away with things that I can't. And so, fueled by the fourth line in the conscious personality, this sixth line it has the potential to deeply betray other people for its own benefit. And then to justify it in a way that makes the other person question whether or not that was actually a bad thing or not. You see, this person has the ability to structure the reality for people around them, both on unconscious and conscious levels. That's this 4323 channel right here. And as we can see, and I mentioned earlier, the 23 and the 43 is the sun earth of the unconscious, giving this deep power to structure perspectives simply out of the vehicle itself, out of the body, the way in which the tonality comes through. Really influential on other people, a high potential to be influential. And wow, yeah, I'm looking over here and I see the 4323 in the personality nodes. So it means in the environment that this person is meant to be consciously aware within. They are here to 4, bring the answers, and 49, ground those answers in genuine principles, genuine values that can order and orchestrate all the various needs of life in a principled way. So I've hardly said anything about the not self because I'm so interested in talking about the mechanic that's happening here. Because we can see this person has influence. This person speaks in a way that can structure perspectives. And the thing is, they're a projector. They're a projector with environmental authority. And you see, that's because they have no definition below the throat, and they have definition above it. And now the thing is the ajna center can never be the inner authority. This is a fundamental mechanic for us as 9-centered human beings. Is that at this point in time, the solar plexus here has actually begun the evolutionary process of developing awareness. And so the proto-awareness within this solar plexus has become the dominant authority upon the planet. And the nature of this ajna is that it belongs to the span of all time itself. Not any individual's perspective, not your thoughts and feelings that are personal to you, because they're not. They're simply a perspective that the totality is engaging through you. It doesn't belong to you. It belongs to all time. And that might be a tough pill to swallow. However, these mechanics help to navigate and recognize what's going on, because there's a fixed ajna here. And all the other stuff is undefined. All the stuff below the throat, all the energy centers of motors, the direction in life, the immune system, the adrenal pressure, emotionality itself, this is all undefined. This is all inconsistent with activation and definition, and so it is where the mind sinks into and it amplifies it 10, 100, 1,000 times, and then they're stuck dealing with it. And the temptation is to make decisions from this ajna center right here because it's defined, it's consistent. All this person is doing is thinking about the past. They're thinking about how they can make sense of the past more and more and more, and how they can communicate that to others as an expression of their contribution, their belief system, and their influence, because they have the details to back it up. And so the temptation is to trust all that stuff because it's consistent, and they keep making more and more sense out of the past, and their brain is always very busy trying to figure every single little thing out, and they're very focused and attention, because this is a quad left situation, quad strategic. This is deeply focused and busy into their own field of what they're doing and their little details. Everything else builds from those little details into a working mechanism. And the temptation is to trust that. However, in truth, it will never make correct decisions for this being if they trust their mind. It will only make correct guidance or share cleanly with another being. For you see, the whole purpose of this all-time ownership of the mind is that it doesn't belong to your individual vehicle. It belongs to your ability to share with other people. And so the reason this world is suffering so much fundamentally is because there are so many people who are not sharing their gifts with other people. And this person, as a projector with the 4-6 profile or the 6-2, has a deep potential to be an empowered role model in the world, having massive influence for the better to all of those who truly recognize them, see them, and invite their guidance in. And so why is it so tempting to make decisions from the mind? Well, one reason I can point out is these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 undefined energy centers down here. Each one of these undefined centers becomes the focus point of the mind. For you see, these are elements that are not consistent. They're elements that you can see all kinds of different ways, and you can interact all kinds of different ways within them. So this G center right here in the very middle, this is what gives our sense of identity, our sense of direction in life. And it's even where self-love comes from. And so with this center undefined, there is generally the need to find love and direction from outside of yourself and from someone else. Now this person will finally be my direction in life. Now I can finally work because this person can carry me forward. And so long as I have this person with me, it's all okay. These are all not self-thoughts of the undefined G center. They're traps that the mind uses to hold you into a pattern that for our ancestors meant survival. Back when this Ajna center was the dominant authority on the planet, when it was the newest awareness available, it was purely strategic, and that was the way to success. And it simply doesn't work anymore. We have new potentials in awareness that if we don't fulfill, well, we don't feel fulfilled, you know? I mean, that sucks. Over here in the solar plexus, the strategy of the not self is to avoid conflict and truth. The strategy is to avoid the problems, avoid the emotional waves, is to essentially amplify the feel-good emotional wave, and then to do everything that's possible to avoid and get away from the negative emotional wave. Because within their system, their mind goes in there and it amplifies it, and all of a sudden it's 10 or 100 times better or worse. This ego center right here wants nothing more than to receive the approval from others, the validation from others. So it doesn't need them like right there next to them. It simply needs to know that the other has given them approval of what they are, because they have no consistent mechanism for determining value and recognizing their own value. I mean, you're priceless and perfect. You were born that way. If you're forgotten, there's a reminder. Down here in the sacral center, the not-self strategy is to not know when enough is enough. And so this is a deeply pervasive pull. It attenuates everything. Not only are they avoiding problems, seeking validation and direction from other people, but they don't know when enough is enough along that journey. So long as they can continue to share a perspective with that person that keeps them around, which is also the spleen center, this wide open, undefined spleen. This gives no consistent relationship to the immune system and general health. It also gives a deep potential for wisdom about what health is by going through the mistakes and learning the subtleties of what's going on here. Because the strategy here is to hold on to what's bad for you. In the not self, when you're identified with your thinking and you're allowing these centers to pull you into black holes of nonsense, because you're taking so much thought and you're so busy in your mind, then what happens is you hold on to what's bad for you because at least it's something, you know? At least you can trust the devil that you know. And the thing is, when you're listening to your mind, you really don't know it. You're only familiar with it because you've been dealing with it for a long time. It's once you detach from it that you learn to know it and you learn to see it clearly. Because last but not least, down here in the root center, these are the adrenal glands. This is the root stress pressure. This is busy, 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 busy. You know, there's no end to it. The need to be busy and the need to relieve the pressure, to reduce the pressure, by increasing it, by going into it, by forcing it to be done right now. And so perhaps you can see a little bit about what's going on in this person's mind. For you see, not only do they have this very busy mind that's always going back into the past and making sense out of these experiences, the 6447, not only are they communicating with others in a way that structures perspectives, this 4323, they have these 6 undefined centers. So they do not know when enough is enough because they are avoiding the problems. They are still receiving validation from people they're holding on to, even though they're not good for them, because they give them a direction in life and they allow them to maybe relax a little bit sometimes, and they have no idea when enough is enough. You can see how that works, right? I mean, I'll avoid any problem you give me so long as you continue to approve of that avoidance. So long as you allow me to rest. You give me what I need to finally stop moving, stop working so hard. Because this person has 4 undefined motors. You see the sacral center right here, the root center right here, the solar plexus right here, and the ego right here. These are the only 4 energy centers responsible for physical movement on the material plane. Like your facial expressions are all coming out right here in the solar plexus, all the muscles for the solar plexus, even the mouth right here and the lips in the 37. The whole body's mapped out on this chart, and only those 4 centers are responsible for movement. So this person doesn't have any consistent movement process. And yet they're a quad left. They're deeply strategic. They're probably busy as hell getting everything done as a super slave, until they finally learn to relax a little bit. Because you see, a lot about this stuff is, a lot of it is the nature of life, and so it simply happens the way it happens. The key difference here is, are you paying attention? Are you aware of what's happening or not? Because if you are aware, then you can get the best of even your blunders. You can get the best of your detriments, of your shadows, of your weaknesses. You can even be rewarded for those weaknesses in the true self. However, in the not self, even your strengths become a punishment. You know, this person is really good at being influential and communicating their experiences to other people and how that can structure their perspective. However, since it's all operating within this not self unconscious program wherein I must receive validation by avoiding problems and finding direction outside of myself, so long as that is the program running, then there's no access to actually have a positive influence. It's actually the shadows coming through and influencing other people, and you may or may not recognize the influence you're having on those around you. What a deep pain that can be, to have this magnificent power within yourself as a projector. For you see, the strategy as a projector is to wait for the invitation. It's to wait from the recognition. Other people can actually see in you what you have seen within yourself, but only once you've actually seen the mechanics at play. And it may not be so interesting to look into yourself like a generator would. As a projector, simply to hear about these mechanics and to see them in play with other people This can radically shift your perspective on life once you start to see how generators go, no, yeah, and they're always buzzing around with this sacral motor that once you recognize, you'll start to sleep alone. And it's not because I told you to or something. It's simply because if you are sleeping in bed next to another human being, you most likely have energy centers defined that aren't normally there. You're most likely receiving conditioning while you're sleeping that will influence who you are while you're awake. Because you didn't get a break to be in your own field and to let your own homeostasis find itself. With all those undefined centers, there's so much room for amplification. And when you can learn to see the mechanics in play within other people, you learn to see an emotional person from a non-emotional person. You see how these emotional beings tend to work on a different wavelength from the rest because they're over time. Whereas the splenic beings exist only right now. You can't expect them to know what's going to happen later or what they'll think later because they're right now. Whereas the emotional person, they might have some kind of feeling in their wave of what it feels like right now for them. Who knows how it'll actually be. And that's why one of the most important things for a projector is to not only study the foundations of human design or any system you get into. However, within design specifically, you need to get to the level of color, transference. And this means that within other systems, you can't simply skirt along the surface. You have to actually get into the depths of what's going on behind the scenes and how things work. Because as a projector, you are seeing into the magnetic monopole that resides in the second gate of this G center right here. There is the magnetic monopole which is orchestrating the entire hologram of life. It moves us along our line of geometry. It is literally the driver of our bodies, the source of intelligence, the origin of direction. And you see into that mechanic. And because you see into that mechanic, when you see all these people who aren't going their true direction, you get bitter about it. And it's like, oh, that sucks. I don't want to, oh, look at that. That could be so much better like this, and this could be so much better, and blah, 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 blah. And the thing about projectors is the signature frequency, the signature vibration is success itself. And so that bitterness, if other people can recognize that bitterness as a valuation, then they can even rise up a hierarchy without having to learn about the mechanics. However, for the projector who does learn about the mechanics, who does wait for the recognition from others, who does their studies so that they can be recognized, to them, the greatest success is bestowed. Like, I'm a generator. I'm not here to be in the field of success in the same way as a projector. My signature vibration is that of satisfaction. And I can find that any day, you know? I can eat some really good food and be like, oh, I'm so satisfied. And that's the quality of my life. That's the signature vibration that I'm here to generate for the world. That the projectors, manifestors, and reflectors can then amplify or simply play with. As a projector, this person is here to be success itself because they see into the mechanics of life. They see the building blocks that make success, and they know how to put them together because they've seen the ways in which they've been put together wrongly and how that fails. So they have this sharp eye, and as a sixth line, with a big picture, and it takes a lifetime. So don't rush yourself, you know? Take your time. Breathe through the experience of life. Smell the roses, you know? You don't have to prove your value to other people by avoiding their problems. And I know you want to not know when enough is enough. However, eventually you will learn when enough is enough, and you'll know very precisely, in the deepest of nuance. This is the blessing I wish to bestow upon you. And so one more nugget of this before I move on, I suppose two, because I wanted to speak about color transference as projectors. Right here we can see a color 2 and a tone 2. This is the color of hope in the tone of uncertainty. This is the ability to recognize what exactly one is not meant to interfere with. I'll say that again. This is the recognition of what exactly one is not here to interfere with. This is what hope is about. Hope is sitting by the river and watching as your problems float away. This is not the transference of guilt. That's the 5th color. That's what brings you into, I need to fix this, or I know how to fix this. For the truly 5th color people, it's not guilt in a bad sense. It's guilt as in, I know how to fix this, which is the simple fundamental mechanic of guilt. It's not like you did something bad. It's simply awareness that you could improve things. So you feel guilty because you're not improving everything you can to the best of your ability. Or are you? Because this person's a 2nd color. They're not a fixer. They could be a plumber, a plumber that's not very good at their job because they think they need to fix things and they're kind of sort of good at it. But really they're more like a Buddha, more like a guru who can sit by the river and watch everything float away. And everything float right back in as it flows away. They can learn what not to interfere with, which is fundamentally that the mind on the inside is not here to tell the body what to do. This is my fundamental hope and my lack of interference. I am also a 2nd color hopeful motivation person. And once I learned about my body making its own decisions, it's been a wild ride ever since. I have absolutely been dedicated, and I feel that I have been rewarded in the most nuances of ways. I feel as if I'm experiencing my life rather than someone else's life, rather than something where maybe somebody else could succeed. I feel like I'm living in a place where I specifically can succeed. And this hopeful environmental authority, projector, can feel the same way. They can experience such a depth of success in their life wherein generators are coming to them by the herd and they have to go one at a time. No, take your turn. I've got time. And they spend that one-on-one time experience together. That generator leaves. And by the time they come back, they're like, wow, that was so great. Thank you. We'll see you next time. Because they're able to actually give the guidance from their studies that has been recognized from the other. In which case it lands. And the last detail for the person is the 62. I'll even look into this. This is the discovery of details. The 3rd line of the 62. A genius for the unusual. The ability to discover valuable information in detail work and to find innovative applications for this knowledge. The unusual gift of finding and expressing valuable details. And since this is 3rd lining it, I have to talk about the not self or the detriment. This is a dissatisfaction with the monotony of detail work, where what is missed may be of great importance and value. The expression and dissatisfaction. The expression of dissatisfaction and boredom in detail work. So this person right here is a discoverer of new details and how to harmonize them into a new structure of reality that has been influenced by their history in life that others can carry forward to success, These people can give conditioning to others in a way that is nourishing and is wholesome and is uplifting and enlivening, inspiring. And in the not self, they can be so bored of the details that they have no time for it. And they're here to bring a mutation. This is the personality Mars, after all. This is the person's specific brand new mutation. So what it means to care about the little things. This person is bringing like a tidal wake flowing behind them as they go through life in response to how much they do or don't care about the details. If they're being overly strategic, mentally led, not caring about the details, there's this powerful hypocrite who can opportunistically take advantage of anything and condition others in a way that sticks into them with a ring of truth that they can hardly even shake. The shadows are tough, for they've even got this 21st gate and the 14th gate with the 25 and the 15. These give the power to control, the immense inner energy to accumulate, extreme rhythms of behavior, and also the power of the priest or the priestess. This is a capacity for blood sacrifice. And that's some darkness on this body graph. Because on the light, in the role model, with the importance and the love for the details, people could get lost in the minutia in such a way that by the time they get out, their life has been improved in a way they're not even aware. Because they have to sit with it. They have to process it. And so thank you for taking the time to be present with me and listening along with this. If you'd like to learn more, feel free to reach out. I've also opened up a new Discord server you'll see in the link below. And this is the Dharma Science Radio Discord, wherein we're talking about human design, spirituality, all of this open source awakening, technology, mechanics, stories, good energy. So I hope to see you there. Take care.